this is probably one of the places he can add a context that no one else can, because he was on the board for New Zealand On Air. He was in the boardroom for New Zealand On Air, one of those places. So he knows how it operates. So he was incensed with what Winston Peters had to say. So I just wanted to give him a chance as someone, the only person who's ever going to see this episode, who was actually in the boardroom of New Zealand On Air, how it operates, why he was so incensed, and his response to that from someone who's been there, as to do with Winston Peters saying that NZ On Air or the government was bribing media outlets. That
is probably the most dangerous. And a lot of people go, "That's Winston," but that is incredibly dangerous. It is anti-democratic. That fund. So, I think he uses it because it's a nice cheap shot at the reporters standing there with the microphones. But what he was actually doing, the reporters there, none of them had any power over that fund at all.
But hang on, just so we're clear for the audience, none of the reporters there were recipients of any of the funds. The fund didn't go to TVNZ 6 o'clock news or News Hub 6 o'clock news. It went to things like Q&A, or it went to the Masterton newspaper. The 6 p.m. news on both channels have no New Zealand On Air funding. So actually saying it to those people, they're not, their companies might be recipients of it for other things, but they are actually they don't get any of that PIFJ money.
Yeah. And we know that. It's kind of not important because that just gets down to nitty gritty, because you've then got those people go, "Oh, this bloody left-leaning piece." So the opportunity that he really gave to us was he just accused independent board members on New Zealand On Air, of which I was once one, of bias, of being bribed. I think because the only way people got money was you applied to this completely independent board who looked at the proposal and then gave money to that proposal. So nothing to do with the reporters, had nothing to do with the applicants. What he was doing was accusing a government board for taking bribery, and that's unacceptable. And if I was on that board, I would have expected that I would have been able to speak up and I would be able to challenge, because for me, that is close to libel.
Yeah, defamation, libel, yeah.
It's defamation. That's defamation, because I know on that board, we were really, really particular about how that money was spent.
There you go. From the inside. What do they say? From God's mouth to your ears? Is that what they say? I don't know.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that if we get a chance to speak to someone, as Hamilton said, was in the room when it happened, we always want to get that voice out there. I don't have too much more to add to that, Chewie. As I said, we'll play that in its entirety on Friday night. And if you're a patron, you can see it now. Do you want to wrap up with anything from what you've seen? Oh, let me just say as well, Ian is very keen for us to play the whole thing. I am as well, because it's a meandering conversation, and some of the things I say he bounces off, and some of the things he says I bounce off. So you can never get the entire context within short clips, and I'm aware of that. But we can't do 47 minutes and 3 or 4 other stories in a show. So the whole show, that whole interview will come on Friday night or on Patreon, and that means on Saturday morning it'll be on YouTube as well. Chewie,
you guys aren't ready for BHN's 240-minute hour. I'm just saying. Look, there's a couple of things I want to touch on. First on, there's been a couple of comments of like, "Oh my God, why are we listening to this guy?" I think he's a really interesting case. And Pat, you've had this experience of, I think he's someone that you could sit down, and I wouldn't have a problem saying any of the things that I've said tonight to his face, because I think it would be a discussion. I think it's someone that has his positions and can defend it, can discuss it. Fine. He's not someone that's entrenched, right? There's people that will never see this show that there wouldn't be any point discussing with it, because there's no give and take. I think with him it's slightly different. I also want to touch on what he said there about Winston's comments being damaging to democracy, and they 100% are, and there's not enough conversation about it. He starts eroding trust in the fourth estate, the people that are there to tell us what the politicians are doing. the moment we disconnect that from it, it's a pillar of a functional democracy, and Winston's eroding that to get it as he said, a cheap shot against the reporter in front of him, and it's a clap back to his camping mates from the front lawn. And it's
100%, echo, 100%.